Hey guys, welcome back. This is Luca with Citadela Sound Production, and this is part 3 on my series on mixing Converge's Aimless Arrow. So in this part, we're going to start off where we left off last time, and that is with the drum rooms. So let's get right into it. The drum rooms in this track are divided into two kind of groups, which is really cool because it gives us more control and more things, more useful usages for these tools that we're given. So the closed rooms and the far rooms. Now, let's start with the far rooms. I'm going to duplicate this track right away. And I'm going to name the duplicate of this track Drum Reverb. I'm going to color code it as well. Now, why is this here? Because I will never, ever use reverb on spot microphones. I just hate it. I think it sounds terrible. It brings up like a lot of unnatural low end from the proximity effect. And I will always use reverb on the rooms or the overheads or whatever, if there are no rooms or if the rooms aren't really good enough for me. So let's start with these rooms. As most people do, I will squash these with the compressor, but I will first clean them up a bit from the unwanted frequencies. So let's just do that with the fab filter. Now I'm setting this here just so that it cuts a lot of the cymbal wash from the room, but just retains some of the crack from the snare. And I'm using like a different slope, like a more relaxed one. Okay, the compressor that I use for this is the API. Now for the squashing of the room, you set your release to the fastest possible, your ratio all the way up, and your attack is set to 0, loud tone. Now I don't want my rooms to be squashed like this. This will give like no different effect than just putting white noise behind the drums. I just still want to keep some of the punchiness and some of the breathing, and just to get that vroom vroom kind of sound. Okay, now that I've set up my compressor, I'm going back to the equalizer. I'll leave this for now, and let's slowly introduce this into our mix. I love it. I love how the drums are starting to sound. Okay, let's go to the closed drum. Now, I will use this as some kind of like glue for my track. I will do the exact same thing. I will clean up the unwanted frequencies and then compress. And I will now introduce the closed room into my mix and see how it works. Let's start like muting the it just slightly widens and gives more transparency and more depth to our drum sound. I can hear some mids in the big room that are annoying me at this point. Now, every time I reduce some frequency, I must go back to the compressor and see what is happening. And I'm seeing that not much has changed, so I'm just gonna leave it. Okay, now I'm having this insane cymbal wash, but for now I'm leaving it. I'm hoping the guitars will cover some of it. Maybe the opposite will happen, but we're gonna treat that then. The next part is the reverb that we talked about. So I've duplicated my far rooms, and what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna put my room reverb plugin. And I'm going to equalize it. Now, this has kind of made the things a bit noisy, but let's just try and see how the reverb will work on the part that we're working on now. It's giving some depth and width to the drums, and I'm liking it. I'm just going to leave it here. Let's see how this thing works for the other parts of the song. It's just fine. It doesn't add too much of the overall like noise or whatever. It works pretty fine. Okay, before we move on to the toms, which is kind of what I do last because I'm just a lazy fuck, I'm going to add another track, which I'm going to route into the drums. And this track is going to be known as the parallel compression. Now, what I'm feeding here is pretty much everything. So let's just route everything to the parallel compression kind of thingy. Now, since I don't want the reverb to be fed into the parallel compressor, I'm going to separately send the close and the far rooms instead of just the group. Okay, so what I have now is this parallel thing. Now, what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to just EQ some of the mids out and then squash it like really hard, kind of the same as the rooms. But I just want to have some low end and some high end on this, like to give it more punch, kind of like a thing that CLA would do. So here's how it works. First, I'll EQ just these things that I just think that I don't need. That's it. And now I'm just gonna add the compressor. I'm doing it just the same way as the rooms. can hear the chewing sound. It's really good. Okay, slowly introduce it into my drums. I'm liking the sound. Okay, so this is my drum bass from now. Let's just hear some of the references. Okay, so I can hear that I'm pretty mid-heavy and I got some excessive low end building up, but I'm just gonna start searching for where is the build up for these things and just find what can I do to remove it. If I can't like properly locate everything, I'm just gonna add like EQ here and just do the drum bus, which is sometimes the best solution. Okay, so that's the drums for now. This is my first kind of approach to starting to mixing drums, and we're gonna move over to the guitars in the next video. See you there.